West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand what
agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
This is the hour that Bill and I finally get going on a Monday morning.
Yes, this is when all the medication kicks in.
It is.
Yes, it's great. Yes.
I was watching that Saturday Night Live skit with a couple beers.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one?
Yep.
Solve all your
beers.
problems.
Yes, with couple beers. Yes, with couple beers.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, June 23rd, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. This story broke Friday right after the show. Bro, this is like... There are moments where I just really, really don't like living in this state. And one of them is when these progressive organizations are tipping off child rapists so they can escape ICE. This last Friday, ICE went to go try to arrest this escaped fugitive, Jose Reyes Leon Deras of El Salvador, who was already convicted of and wanted for child rape in Italy. This is a good piece of work. This guy harms kids, not just in America, but in other parts of the world, ends up here because of illegal immigration. ICE goes to pick him up, and this group out here called Colorado Rapid Response, it's just made up of these idiot Marxists out there, alerted the child rapist so that law enforcement couldn't capture him. They helped him escape. A Facebook post on Thursday on the organization's page announced ICE officers were near Longs Peak Avenue and Martin Street in Longmont, and that their volunteers were assisting with those being targeted. Thank you. Authorities told the public not to approach Leon Deras and asked anyone with information on his location to contact him. Look, all the media out there, all the news out there around Donald Trump's deportations is that they're going after the people that are just trying to work quietly. They're good people. They're just trying to work out there. But what is actually happening is ICE is trying to get these dangerous people who are not easy to get in the first place. They're criminals off the street. And these yahoos that are part of Colorado Rapid Response Network, funded by these communist organizations out there warning these criminals that ICE is coming. Our community is less safe because of these types of people. Man, it drives me crazy. We'll cover this and more next. But now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Monday morning. 60 degrees, beautiful outside, mostly sunny in Denver and up and down the Front Range. Expecting a high of 81 today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, I almost choked right there. Wow. That's never happened before. Oil prices fluctuating this morning after the U.S. attacked Iran. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the White House is monitoring the Strait of Hormuz after Iranian state media reported Sunday that the country's parliament supported closing the strait. And here we go again. So I'll get to that interview real quick. According to the Energy Information Administration, 20% of the crude oil consumed. There she is. All right, go ahead, Caroline. 20% of the crude.
The administration is actively and closely monitoring the situation in the Strait of Hormuz, and the Iranian regime would be foolish to make that decision.
And 20% of the crude oil consumed by the world passed through the strait last year. The possibility of the strait being closed along with the U.S. strikes has caused some uncertainty regarding the oil supply outlook in the Middle East after prices jumped over the weekend. They fell this morning after DJT posted, "Everyone keep oil prices down. I'm watching. You're playing right into the hands of the enemy. Don't do it." 47 and his national security team will meet this afternoon. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State.
The goal is stated very clearly in a letter the president sent the Supreme Leader about 65, 67 days ago. And in a letter he said, you're not going to have a nuclear weapon. Let's negotiate peacefully a solution. We can make a really good deal that's good for Iran, good for America, good for the world. If you don't, however, then I'm going to have to deal with this differently. The Iranians didn't like the letter. They didn't respond to it. They ultimately entered into fake negotiations and tried to play him along. In essence, they thought they could do with President Trump what they've done with presidents in the past and get away with it.
NBC's Peter Alexander says Iran reportedly issued a warning prior to the attacks.
NBC News has learned, according to two U.S. officials, that Iran conveyed a private message to President Trump through an intermediary during last week's G7 summit, just days before the president ordered the U.S. attack, warning that if the president launched airstrikes, Iran would respond by unleashing terrorist attacks on the U.S.
Protesters rallied outside the state capitol here in Colorado Sunday, speaking out against the airstrikes.
The Iranian people are like people everywhere. They're victims in this situation.
And I just don't think that we need to be dragged into another war.
I don't believe that they have nuclear weapons.
Meanwhile, Jewish Colorado shared a message supporting the U.S. strikes, calling it a show of unity with Israel in defense of the free world. John Decker covers the president at the White House, but DJT will be in the Netherlands tomorrow, and Decker is there awaiting him as the discussions will revolve around the subject of Israel, Iran, and the U.S.
They are in a weakened position. What our European allies, who are parts of NATO, are urging Iran to do is to go down the path of diplomacy and de-escalation, to negotiate. And what do they want them to negotiate? Negotiate an end to their nuclear ambitions. That's what the president is seeking. That's what President Trump wants. And there you have consensus with all of our NATO allies as it relates to that.
John was on with Jeff and Billy this morning. Kilmar Garcia is being ordered to be released pending his trial on human smuggling charges. Commie judge.
I think there's some margaritas to be had with Senate Democrats, Kilmar.
Absolutely. They're going to have a big celebration.
Woo! Human traffickers.
Here we go. I wonder if this judge, Barbara Holmes, would like him to be her new neighbor. I think they could have some barbecues this summer. She made the order Sunday, scheduling a hearing for Wednesday. She doesn't believe Garcia is a flight risk, which is a joke, but acknowledged that ICE is likely to detain him if he's released from custody. So more drama ahead on that one. No Kings protests in Douglas County were funded by communists from China. Douglas County Commissioner George Teal on with Jeff and Billy this morning and says the House Oversight Committee reported it.
It even landed in Douglas County, of all places. And it's been so active as an opposition to our home rule initiative, and it's just shocking. I mean, here's a nationwide, funded by China, funded by a communist organization that's actually trying to work against the people of Douglas County having a say in local control issues. It's amazing.
It is incredible. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they've won their first NBA championship, 103-91 over the Indiana Pacers. Doggone it, the Pacers couldn't pull it out. An original ABA team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the way with 29 points, 12 assists, earning the finals MVP. Tyrese Halliburton goes out of the game early for the Pacers, and that did not help them, had a knee injury. And finally, Shanae shows up again. She says the president should have consulted with her in Congress before striking around.
I go back in on
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Holler at you, girl.
Monday. You could have hollered at us on Monday. If you truly felt like there was something, like, there is nothing that they will say that will make me believe that this action needed to take place, and it needed to take place without the consultation of the Congress.
Hey. All right. Should have hollered at her. 56 Castle Rock, 58 Northglenn, 60 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It'll certainly be quite a bit cooler here to start the week. We're going to only be in the 70s today, partly cloudy to mostly cloudy. Scattered afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms, lows tonight mid-50s. We'll get back to the 80s Tuesday, but Tuesday be ready for afternoon and evening thunderstorms. Tuesday, we could have severe weather with more thunderstorms, highs 80s Wednesday. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, we all know we got a crime problem in the state of Colorado. You got those weak-kneed judges and some of those prosecutors who, just let the bad guys out, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But if you own a business in Colorado, you got to protect it. The best out there to protect your business. Alarm detection systems, the highest level of service and expertise. Plus, they all combine it into one company, one source, for your cameras, key card access, fire and intrusion systems. ADS offers expert alarm installation and testing by highly trained technicians, 24/7 professional monitoring, same-day or next-day service upon request, dedicated teams for cameras, access control, and fire alarms, and over 300 security professionals working for you. Choosing ADS means your business stays protected and will be ready to open tomorrow. They combine human monitoring with the latest AI camera technology, preventing crime in real time. Trusted by small and large businesses, including many Colorado schools. Their security experts will review your system for free. Go to adsalarm.com to schedule your appointment. adsalarm.com. Alarm detection systems, the first choice of Front Range and Colorado businesses. adsalarm.com. All right. Colorado again making national news. Here's the headline out of Fox. Anti-ICE activists help migrant child rapists escape arrest in Colorado. This stuff makes me so frustrated. Anti-immigration and custom enforcement. ICE activists in Denver, Colorado managed to thwart agents trying to arrest an illegal migrant wanted in Italy for child rape. ICE Colorado said on Friday their agents were trying to detain Jose Reyes Leon de Ras, a criminal alien from El Salvador who was convicted of child rape in Italy, when members of a local anti-ICE group alerted him to their presence. ICE said the group, Colorado Rapid Response, posted on social media that ICE was in the area, allowing him time to flee. During our surveillance of Leon, They write, members of Colorado Rapid Response arrived on scene and alerted him to law enforcement's presence, which allowed him to escape arrest. ICE Colorado said groups like this interfere with ICE's ability to keep communities safe. ICE shared a Facebook post from the group written in English and Spanish alerting its followers to ICE's presence in the area and the type of vehicle agents were using. ICE has asked the public to report Leon Duraz to federal authorities if they see the migrant, but warn the public not to approach him. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston previously vowed to station police officers to block ICE agents from carrying out deportations, and a report showed that the city has spent $356 million in taxpayer money on services for migrants. A 2017 Denver ordinance limits officials from cooperating with ICE. Anti-ICE protests and activity has grown since Donald Trump returned to office and vowed to carry out the largest deportation mission in U.S. history. This gets me very frustrated because the claims that are coming from media is that Donald Trump is breaking apart families. We need to interfere. We need to go down there and alert these good people that are here just trying to make a better life for themselves from what ICE is doing. They're equating ICE with Nazis. They're equating ICE with, the brown shirts that illegally rounding up people. Meanwhile, this type of attitude has resulted in us here in this city having to deal with a child rapist on the streets. Community is not safe because of these anti-ICE activists. My opinion, Bill, you interfere with ICE and the feds trying to capture these folks, you should be arrested. Arrest these anti-ICE activists if they show up and try to interfere with a federal operation. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, this is going back to something we had with an earlier caller, the idea of unintended consequences. The behavior by Colorado Rapid Response, for me, is the unintended consequences of what seems to be a not targeted enforcement operation. We've talked about this for weeks on the show, that ICE is going around arresting anybody that's in the country illegally, not just the violent criminals, which was kind of the impetus based on the election, that we were going to get these people like the guy that killed Laken Riley. Those were the dangers, because we were having this immigrant crime wave all across America, and we had to go after these immigrant criminals, and that's what we needed to do. However, based on ICE enforcement so far, we haven't seen that borne out, not based on the numbers in which they are arresting people. Last numbers that I saw showed that about 30% of those detained by ICE have an existing criminal record. That's not good if you're saying you're going out there to arrest the criminals. And I think the problem that we have here with Colorado Rapid Response is we don't know who ICE is going after, because we have video from just this weekend that happened in L.A. A man who's a landscaper. They show up at the job site and he starts running away. They chase him down and get violent with him. While he's on the ground, and they're punching him in the face while they're trying to detain him.
Resisting arrest.
Did
he run away?
Yes, he ran away, but after they have him on the ground, he seems to show no certain aggression and doesn't seem to be a danger at that point. But again, what we're looking at is, okay, sure, he ran away. I'm not sure that equates a punching in the face, but what we know is the guy's been here long term, has no discernible criminal record, and is the father of 3 U.S. Marines. Yet he was detained by ICE. So that's the problem that we have, I believe, in the filter and the visibility of these ICE raids, is that because ICE and the Trump administration is not targeting those violent criminals first, which was what the promise was on the election trail, that we were going to take care of these violent criminals first and get them out. Then we would deal with all the other immigrants that have overstayed visas and done other stuff. But since it seems to be really random as far as individuals that have picked up, and the vast majority of the people that we are detaining do not have a criminal record, that's a problem. That gives breath for people like Colorado Rapid Response.
You think that's a justification, though, for shouting with bullhorns that ICE is coming and disrupting the ICE process?
Here's the idea.
ICE activities that are taking place?
Here's the thing, is that the conversation here started with, oh my God, look at Colorado Rapid Response letting this criminal go. And,
yes.
And what I'm saying is, because of ICE enforcement, Colorado Rapid Response has no idea if ICE is going after a child rapist or someone that's in the country for 20 years and has 3 kids.
You think
that's a
that
Marine.
in some capacity what they're doing is justified?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, because they have free speech rights and they can go out there, and as long as they follow those and they don't interfere with the actual arrest, they
the
do
whole
have.
The whole thing is an interference with the operation, Bill.
No, it's not. Not going
yes,
around.
It is.
No, it's not. Not going around and telling people that someone is in the location, nor going around and saying what your rights are. That's not necessarily an interference. But again, we got to go back to this. The idea being is you're coming to the idea of these people are horrible because we're just arresting all these people. And I'm telling you, the reason that these groups are given space and have momentum right now is because we're not arresting the violent criminals all the time. That was the promise. When you see them arresting the average people,
that's all
that's
that
a problem.
I should do is arrest. So enforcing immigration law is simply arresting those that have formed or committed some form of other crime.
That's not all they do, but again, that's where they need to start. That was the promise.
But that is where they started.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, we're 6 months into this administration.
No, hang on. The numbers.
So
Jeff,
they can only go after the peaceful people.
Jeff, the numbers don't say that.
Once they've arrested everybody else that's committed a crime.
But Jeff, hang on. Of the detainees right now, 30% or less have a criminal conviction or case. That's not going out there and arresting the criminals.
Bill, what point are they allowed to just go after people that violated immigration law?
We can talk about that, but what I'm coming back to is this, that we started with violent criminals. Remember,
and we did start with violent criminals.
No, we didn't, because 30% of the...
Did.
No, 30%.
We're 6 months into this. This is the first week of the administration.
Jeff, hang on. We're 6 months into this, and 30% of the detainees. And we don't think we've got all the violent criminals? All of them are gone? They're all picked up?
In your mind...
All these are all picked up?
All of them have to be picked up, and then we can go after the people that have already broken another law, which is immigration law. See, this is a cover, okay? Because I've gone down and I've interviewed these anti-ICE people. They are open border nutcases, okay? They are people that would allow anybody into this country. They think it's racist to even have a border. All right, people should be able to freely come up and down and all that stuff. And these actions threaten the lives and well-being of federal ICE immigration officials, of DEA officials. These types of activities that are taking place by this group to alert illegal immigrants that ICE is coming for them, threaten the lives of federal immigration officials. I think there's got to be a move from Trump to arrest these folks for interfering and threatening the lives of good people that work for our federal government. Join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Campos Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's go to the phone lines. We'll go to Larry here in just a second. Look, it's cooling down, but if you had to deal with the heat over the weekend, over 100 degrees, and your AC line froze up and you need some help, we got the people to call. L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. Love this company. Locally owned, mom and pop operation. They're not a big corporation. They respond, listen to this, no emergency charges, and a $0 trip fee. They installed for us a new air conditioner and heater, furnace, and everything works great. It was a one-day process, no stress, personal service from start to finish. They followed up to make sure everything was perfect. Our home now, totally comfortable. We didn't have any problems over the weekend. So no matter what the weather you're dealing with, L&L Heating and Air Conditioning brings peace of mind. Here's the deals they got going on right now. A free programmable thermostat or carbon monoxide detector with new furnace or air conditioner. No emergency charges, as I mentioned. No trip fee. They got a price match value guarantee on equipment, free estimates, licensed and insured, and a 5-year labor warranty. Everything works great, and our family couldn't be happier. So if you're looking for fast, honest, and reliable service, I highly recommend L&L Heating and Air Conditioning, 720-851-1691, online at bestdenverhvac.com, bestdenverhvac.com. That number again, 720-851-1691. All right, Gary, Denver, you're on with Jeff and Bill. Good morning.
Morning.
Jeff, I just got to say, you must be a saint to tolerate that guy you work with.
Thank you.
Well, what are your thoughts for Bill?
He's too far left.
Far left compared to what?
Compared to about anything.
You think I'm more left than AOC? Am I more left than Bernie?
No, I guess not.
Okay, well then, okay. So could you be wrong about the fact that I'm far left too?
How can you argue allowing these people to tip off illegal aliens to ICE operations? Senseless.
Do you want to respond?
Yeah, the exact issue that I've got is that we are assuming, the premise is that Colorado Rapid Response is letting all of these criminals know about ICE enforcement. And what I'm saying is, because ICE enforcement has been casting a net that is much wider than just going after the violent criminals that we were talked about during the Trump campaign, that's the reason why Colorado Rapid Response has been given breath and life. If we were just going after, with ICE enforcement, those hardcore criminals, those that had raped children, like the example here, those that were involved in gangs, those that had criminal convictions or even criminal accusations and running them through the court system, that's one thing. But when we're picking up a guy in LA in the last 48 hours that appears to have no criminal record and has 3 kids that are all U.S. Marines, I think who we're picking up, we need to talk about that. We need to maybe focus who our efforts are, because I remember during the time of the election, this was about an immigrant crime wave. How many times did we hear Donald Trump and his surrogates talk about an immigrant crime wave?
No, he talked about mass deportations all the time.
No, I didn't.
Not just criminal deportations.
That's not the phrase I used. Immigrant crime wave. That was the phrase that he used. Immigrant crime wave, immigrant crime wave, immigrant crime wave, and we were going to go after those criminals.
And my question is,
30% of the people that have been picked up are not part of that crime wave.
Should ICE just be used for those that are violent criminals?
No, but that's where you start. That's where you start.
And you want all of them picked up before they can turn and start going after people that have committed a crime, by the way, which is being in this country illegally.
No, not all of them, but of the people you've picked up in the first 6 months of the administration, when 30% of them fall in that group, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
Bill, I'll tell you where you're right. I'll tell you where you're right. These violent criminals are hard to catch, which is what makes what happened on Thursday with these anti-ICE activists tipping off a convicted child rapist all the worse.
Yeah, which is why
because they actually found the guy.
Yeah,
and these idiots went down there and went, "Hello, alert, alert! ICE is coming! Run away!"
Yeah, but they don't know if they're coming after the landscaper or they're coming after a rapist.
Because we go after all of them. Which is why they shouldn't be doing this.
No, which is why we should be going after the criminals.
Oh, my
That's
gosh.
why we need to go after the criminals.
All right, we'll just go around in circles here.
Immigrant crime wave. And we picked up 30%.
They said mass deportations. Bill, these people are little Marxist, communist, open border nutcases, and they're threatening the lives of ICE. Don't you think that's a big component in this? Is if you're out there alerting somebody like a violent criminal like this guy who's a convicted child rapist that ICE is coming, now you've given him time to grab his gun.
I think that here's the idea, though, that if we're supposed to be as well armed as any of us are, that's a problem no matter what when you have a no-knock or you show up without, stuff on your jacket or have your face covered. Any of those actions can put you in danger. So I disagree with the premise that this is the only way. And again, so far, in all the people that have been arrested and are being detained by our immigration enforcement officials so far, somewhere about 30% or less, based on what I've seen, are the actual immigrant criminals that we were promised to be getting out of the country during it.
They're all still immigrant criminals.
But
if
again,
you break the law, you're an immigrant criminal.
Supposed to be an
all right,
immigrant
let's go. Let's go to break, Bill, and then we'll get to the phone calls. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. There's a convicted child rapist on the loose in Colorado because these nitwits with this organization called Colorado Rapid Response alerted the migrant of ICE's whereabouts, and that gave him time to run away and hide. I think it's terrible. I think these people should be arrested. They're interfering with federal operations. They're putting the lives of our law enforcement, DEA, ICE, at risk. And they're a bunch of little communist activists. Let's go to the phone lines. Nick, Denver. Good morning, Nick. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Thanks for taking my call. The thing that really bothers me is the double standard that always seems to be in play. The ICE people have to follow if they have to follow the letter of the law, and if they make one mistake, oh my God, they're terrible people. But it's all right for the other side to do just about anything. ICE is dealing with a horrible big problem, and they have to start somewhere. Mistakes are going to be made, but that's just the way it is.
But Nick, where were we told the problem was going to start? And what I mean by that is when we were going through the election cycle and Donald Trump was talking about the deportations, where did he say he was going to start? What was the cohort of individuals he was going to get out of the country first?
The dangerous people, but who are the dangerous people? We don't even know who's in this country.
But we would know the dangerous people based on criminal allegations, convicted of crime, stuff like that. That would be a nice way to start. And the problem I have, and this is the issue that I've got, I don't disagree with you, Nick, that we were told we were going to start with the criminals. But what we have right now, based on numbers, are of those detained, 30% or less actually have some sort of criminal allegation or a criminal conviction. Is that starting with the criminals? If you only have 30% of them in the pool.
I don't know. I just think they have a big problem created by the previous administration, and they're trying to get their hands around the problem, and hopefully they'll start nailing down and drilling down and concentrating on what you said we should be doing right off the bat. But I'm willing to give ICE some wide latitude because they have a horrible, out-of-control problem. And if mistakes are made, so be it.
Well, here's the thing, and we talked about, why would groups like Colorado Rapid Response let people know about it? I think there was someone right here in our state in the last week that was arrested at their immigration hearing here in Colorado. This is a person that is doing it the right way. They have applied for asylum, and they're supposed to have a follow-up immigration hearing, and their case has not been heard yet. But ICE grabbed them as an illegal and now deporting them. Again, that doesn't seem to be, one, the violent criminal alien that's been here, and it also seems to be someone that is in the system. We can agree or disagree about whether or not that person should have asylum, but it's a person that at the time is following the rules we set out. Yet now we pick him up and we have to put him into detention camp. That seems questionable based on our motivations.
You adjudicate that through the courts. This type of activity where these activists are showing up with bullhorns and giving illegal immigrant criminals the time and ability to get away, in my mind, is no different than those idiots who want to have it out with a cop on the side of the road. That's not the time and place to do this. It's adjudicated in the courts. If you have problems, you do it in the courts. You don't do it in the middle of an ICE operation. Nick, your response?
I would have to agree with you. And look, if mistakes are made, like somebody who wants to argue with a policeman at a traffic stop or some traffic violation, picking a fight with a policeman who's got a gun on a street is not the place to do it. Period.
But Nick, in the example that Jeff just gave, the idea that the asylum should be done through the court system and adjudicated, this guy hasn't gone through the process, and he was picked up, and he's going to be deported now.
You are
That's
holding.
not the adjudication.
You are holding.
You don't
to
know
me, it's
that.
a double standard. You are holding the ICE people to a much higher standard. Mistakes are being made, but the problem is so huge. Mistakes are going to be made. There are going to be casualties. Hopefully, they'll be rectified, and they'll start drilling down on the group that Donald Trump said he's going after, at least initially. But we've got people we've got sleeper cells in this country that are ready to strike, and we have no idea who they are, where they are, or anything.
Yeah, but I think we can all, Jeff, myself, and you, Nick, can all make an agreement that if an individual is a likely part of a sleeper cell, they're probably not showing up to their immigration hearing. Probably not.
We don't even know where they are.
Yeah.
Probably not.
And
They're
if
probably
ICE
not.
is out there, don't interrupt what they're trying to do. Nick, I appreciate it. All right,
Yeah,
let's
thanks for the
talk Black Eyed Pea, guys. Love this restaurant. Black Eyed Pea of Colorado, locally owned and operated by Steve and Michelle. My entire family loves eating at this restaurant. Home-style cooking at its best. 8 locations. There's sure to be one near you. Bottom line, you want to take your family out to eat at the Black Eyed Pea. Go online at blackeyeedpeacolorado.com. Check out their featured menu that they run throughout the different seasons of Colorado. They have special barbecue, burgers, potato menus, and more. They've built a reputation in Colorado for the best home-cooked meal away from home. Absolutely love this restaurant. It's where I take a lot of my meetings at. They'll do catering, too. If it's a dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event, made it a success with Black Eyed Pea Catering. And no matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great for your special someone, birthday favors, or holiday presents. They've got you covered. I know you'll love this restaurant, too. Support local. Support healthy. Keep it in Colorado. Visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. All right, let's do Lewis and Aurora. Good morning, Lewis. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning, brothers. I've got a couple of things. How many immigrants did Obama deport, and were they all criminals?
No,
And
I don't know how
second-
many. I don't remember how many they were, and and I would guess it depends on how we're defining criminal. If we define them like Jeff did, then yeah, they would all be, but probably not as far as breaking one of our laws, as far as something violent, etc. But yeah,
Okay,
yeah, continue.
Bill. If you are so in agreement with these people doing this, why don't you go out there and help them?
Okay.
Go out there with the blowhorn.
Okay.
Warn ICE. Go out there, Bill.
Okay, I don't. Here, Lewis, what are you trying to prove? So if I
I'm
do,
trying to prove-
I know, but Lewis, if I do and I stand out there, then it proves what? What does it
Well,
prove?
that you're in total agreement that these immigrants need to be warned, and those who didn't commit crime shouldn't be deported. Go out there and do it, Bill.
Is that what Colorado Rapid Response is, or are they just letting people know? Again, Lewis, see, the thing is, you're trying to put me into a box and say, oh, if Bill doesn't walk out there on the street and do this, he's obviously not a true believer. He obviously doesn't think that way.
That's right. You're not.
Yeah. I know.
You don't believe it.
Yeah, no, I do, Lewis. I do believe. I'm here for 4 hours every day about it. Now, what you're asking me to do is take this advocacy role, and what I'm saying is, why are they doing it? And what I'm saying is the critique of them going out there and notifying all these criminals about ICE coming is not necessarily accurate, because the individuals being detained and arrested by ICE aren't all the violent criminals that we talked about. That's an issue. If we want to complain about Colorado Rapid Response letting people know about the criminals, they're letting everybody know. That's the issue. I'm arguing about the targeting of ICE, who they're arresting. That's what I'm talking about, man.
You keep avoiding that Trump did say that he's going to have a massive deportation. He did say that.
And he said we were going to start with the violent criminals. The immigrant
Fine,
crime wave.
but it's
Immigrant
a
crime
massive-
wave.
But guys, a reminder,
30% of the detainees are not part of that immigrant crime wave.
Colorado Rapid
That's an
Response
issue.
are not logical people who go, we're going to start with the criminals first. These are folks that want totally open borders. They're nutcases. I've interviewed them. They want completely open borders in this country, and they're out there trying to notify anybody that might be picked up with ICE, let alone criminals or not.
Right. And that's the thing. Massive deportation doesn't always mean all criminals.
But we did talk about an immigrant crime wave, and that was where Donald Trump was targeting. Immigrant crime wave, and we're not picking up the immigrant criminals. That's an issue.
No. He said massive deportation, okay?
But he also said immigrant crime wave. Immigrant Crime Wave, Immigrant Crime Wave, over and over and over again. I watched all the press conferences and all the stuff on Fox
so
News.
did I.
Lewis,
So
appreciate
did I.
the call. Thank you so much. We're up against a break. Let's talk Dan Caplis Law real quick, guys. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. Look, Dan has spent 40 years of his life getting justice for people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Listen to this. Dan wins in the courtroom. He is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted, he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, we threw the show right back into all the heated debates this Monday. Thank you to everybody that participated in it. If you missed any of the conversation, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast, 710knus.com to download the podcast. It's going to be a wild week, everything from Iran to immigration to the NATO summit, Ukraine, Russia, all that. You're going to want to stick with us. But unlike those other shows, this isn't a monologue. We want you to be a part of the conversation. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. By the way, tomorrow is the home rule election in Douglas County, so we'll know some of the results by Wednesday. So,
yeah. The other thing here on the show is you might not like me, but the one thing I'll guarantee, I'll listen to you. I will listen and we'll have a conversation. How many other places across our fruited plain do you find a talk show that wants to actually listen and have a conversation with you? Yeah, that's what Jeff and I do. We're different.
We've been different since we were kids.
Do we?
All right. Yes. Thank you for listening. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
KNUS.